So today we're going to talk about a city that is near and dear to me, a suburb just outside of Charlotte that I'm in and out of just about every day. We're talking about Concord, North Carolina. Just north of Charlotte, if you're heading up I-85, you will run right into Concord Mills Mall. It's just a great suburb of Charlotte, guys. And you've got up close to 106,000 people that call Concord home. Talk about home values. Median home price in Concord is going to be right around $290,000. And we talk about renters versus owners, right? That's important for a lot of people. You know, what percentage of people actually own their home in the city versus renters? So in Concord, you're talking about 69% home ownership versus 31% renter. So if you're an investor, there could be some opportunity for you to move into Concord, buy some property, and get some renters out there as well. I can imagine that people in Concord are looking for homes to rent that are transitioning from different places outside of Charlotte simply because of the school system. You know, one major thing, because there are school systems out in Concord. So we'll talk more about that in the video as well. But check this out. Concord actually ranks 12th out of 183 suburbs in North Carolina for the best diversity. That's number 12 out of 183 suburbs in North Carolina. It ranks 25 out of 183 for the best suburbs for young professionals. Now we talk about median household income is actually slightly above the national average, right around $84,000. If you want to get into more data, guys, you can actually check out the links below. I've got niche.com, great schools, and pay scale to kind of really dig into the data for those of you that are nerdy like me and want to know more about the stats of Concord. Let's get to this video. We're going to talk about the pros and cons of living in Concord, North Carolina, a suburb that I think is probably the best suburb right outside of Charlotte. Now, I may be biased as well. I grew up here in Charlotte and I live on the border of Concord. If I get in my car right now and head north down Mallard Creek Road, it runs right into Concord Mills Mall, one of the biggest malls in North Carolina, if not the biggest mall in North Carolina. But I can get to Concord myself in literally 8 to 10 minutes. It's a great drive, great shopping, great food, a little bit of good of everything for that part of Concord. And we're going to talk more about that right now. Now, guys, if you're new to the channel, my name is Sean Gerald. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe. We do content like this all day. I'm a real estate agent. I'm a broker in charge, a broker owner, investor, Airbnb host, you name it. And I absolutely love real estate. I love North Carolina. I love Charlotte in particular. And I love Concord, North Carolina. Now, it doesn't matter if you're moving here in 9 days or 9 weeks or 9 months for that matter. Okay, I like the nines. It doesn't matter if you're moving here at that time, right? 9 times 3 is 27. Yeah, let's get it. 2 plus 7 is 9. I like the nines. Guys, if you're moving here, listen, we would love to serve you. I speak to people just like you every single day that are moving to the Charlotte area, that are moving to North Carolina and want to be served properly. Like me, because I am a local, I'm a native, I grew up here. Only time I left was my military service time. Simplified all my Marine Corps out there, my Devil Dogs, Hard Chargers, and everybody else that served in another branch. Thank you all for your service. So today we're going to jump right into it, guys. Pros and cons of living in Concord, North Carolina. I'll be right back. Let's get into it. All right, guys, so here we go. We are in Concord, North Carolina. This is one of the most searched suburbs in the entire Charlotte metro. And I love Concord. I actually live on the border. I'm out in Concord all the time. I mean, it's inevitable. I've got friends that live in Concord. I'm always in Concord. I go to the mall in Concord, the Concord Mills Mall. So I love being in Concord. I mean, again, it is just a great suburb with great schools, lots of restaurants, lots of shopping. You got the largest mall in the state right there at Concord Mills. So just kind of give you guys an idea of where we are here in Concord. Okay, so you've got the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Now, yeah, it is called the Charlotte Motor Speedway, but it is in Concord. Here it is right here. Look at this. This place is amazing. Okay, do the Richard Petty experience, friends. All right. Now you leave Concord Mills or Concord Motor Speedway. you're gonna find yourself over in Concord Mills, okay? I mean, it's literally right here. You see, you've got a Walmart right here in Concord. You've got the Concord Regional Airport right here. Most people, if they're leaving Concord heading into Charlotte, they are gonna take 85, Interstate 85. You're gonna head south back into Charlotte. This drive, guys, it's probably gonna be one of my favorite places in Charlotte, Topgolf. But this drive to get back into uptown Charlotte is probably going to take you about 20 minutes, depending on traffic, okay? Now, here we are. This is going to be Center City, uptown Charlotte right here. You got Panther Stadium right over here. You've got the Hornets Arena. It's going to be right over here. Our airport is literally right here, okay? So not too far from the airport. There you go, Charlotte Douglas Airport. So you've got an easy drive from Concord back into Charlotte if you want some of that suburb living, live outside of the Charlotte metro, get into a smaller city like Concord where you've got, listen, look at all the trees right here. Let me see if I can zoom this back out, okay? Concord, listen, you've got so much, look at this dark green this is right here in Concord. You will absolutely love Concord if you want some good southern quiet living. The closer you get back to Charlotte, it gets really busy over in this area right here. You start getting out this way, listen, I'm telling you right now, it's going to be rural. But now look, this right here, my friends, look at this, 5,000 reviews. This is by far one of my favorite restaurants. I actually went today to the Smoke Pit. If you come to Charlotte, you have at Concord Charlotte, you have got to go to the Smoke Pit. I'm telling you right now, you're going to absolutely thank me for it later. But I just wanted to show you guys proximity-wise. Here to Charlotte, here's Concord right here again, okay? And then Charlotte is literally right on the edges of Concord, all right? Right here. So I hope you enjoy the video. We're going to talk about some pros and cons today. Let's go ahead and get into it. I'll be right back. So let's talk about the pros of living in Concord. So pro number one for me anyway is going to be the affordable cost of living in Concord. It is generally lower than the national average with affordable housing and utility costs. Now, according to payscale.com, housing expenses in Concord are 21% lower than the national average. Utility prices are 8% lower than the national average and 7% lower than the national average when it relates to transportation expenses in Concord, meaning that bus fares and gas prices are generally cheaper in Concord than they are nationally. Let's talk about home prices, and we're going to compare more locally to the Charlotte region. So a home in Charlotte, North Carolina, when you're talking about the median sold price in Charlotte, right around $428,000. That's actually up, though, 6.3% from last month. And now the recording of this video, it is May of 2024. So we're up about 6% in Charlotte. And Concord, guys, are right around $376,000 for a home in Concord, or sold price in Concord, North Carolina. And that is going to be for various reasons. I mean, in my opinion, you've got two Concords. You've got the furthest northern reaches of Concord, which are going to be a lot more rural than they are closer to where I live, the Charlotte border. So home prices out in those areas, listen, I was selling homes out there a few years back, some smaller homes. You're talking about 800 square feet, 900 square feet, homes priced, in the low $100,000 range. Now, those homes, of course, have since gone up significantly. Now, when I say significant, you could probably get one of those homes, depending on where you buy in Concord, in that northern part. If it's one of these older homes built in the 30s, the 20s, the early 1900s, maybe on up into the 1980s, somewhere in the mid 200s, on up into the mid $300,000 price range. As you get closer to Charlotte, though, those home prices are going to go up significantly, as you will see if you decide you want to live in this great suburb right outside of Charlotte, there at Concord. So again, closer to Charlotte you get, guys, you've got Concord Mills Mall, you've got lots of restaurants, shopping. It's just for me, a tale of two different cities as it relates to Concord, North Carolina, and again, the furthest reaches of northern Concord. So that's my pro number one for Concord, North Carolina, guys. It's going to be the affordable cost of living. Now, we talk about number two. What is our number two pro for living in Concord? I'm going to say that Concord does offer a rich cultural scene with numerous events, art exhibits, and performances throughout the city. So you've got like galleries. This is according to the Cabarrus Arts Council. I'm going to put a link to the website down below. You've got the Davis Theater. You've got the galleries at Cabarrus Arts Council, and you've got the Art Walk on Union, just to name a few things for you to do arts and cultural wise. But Concord has a lot of arts and culture. Again, it's a very diverse place to live. When you think about people that are transitioning to Charlotte, or people like me that grew up here in Charlotte and actually moved out to Concord to be in the suburbs for a slower pace, quieter lifestyle, things like that. But there are going to be lots of activities for you to do when it comes to arts and culture in Concord, and we definitely can't forget about NASCAR, all right? I would say number three pro for living in Concord, North Carolina are gonna be the educational opportunities. Listen, all the time when I talk to people, man, they wanna know about the schools around the Charlotte Metro, and Concord is right at the top of the list. The schools in Concord are traditionally a lot better than they are here in the Charlotte Metro. So a lot of times when I'm talking to people that are moving out to Concord, you know what? Let me give you an example. There's a lot of new construction happening right now in Concord. Let's talk about a community called Annsboro by MI Homes, for example. This community, because of the schools that are rated right around that neighborhood, we're talking about Cox Mill schools, okay? You got a high school and you got an elementary school. But right around this area, listen, I don't care what the market looks like, what interest rates look like. If you want to buy a home in these areas, you better prepare to be put into a lottery. It's just, especially new construction, it's gonna happen. Or for the existing home that goes on the market in these areas, yeah, listen, you are going to be in a bidding war in most cases. Home prices in these areas have skyrocketed. These are close to the Charlotte border as well. So you do get convenience as it relates to like coming back to Charlotte or going to the big mall here, Concord Mills, things like that. But the schools in Cabarrus County are fantastic. So I don't think you can lose when it comes to like, you want to have a great school for your kids. Listen, Concord just gives you a really small town feel, but in a nice city, a suburb outside of Charlotte. The schools there are going to be fantastic, and they're going to give you what you're looking for in the way of education. All right. So schools would have to be my number 3 pro for living in Concord. So we talk about our 4th pro for living in Concord, North Carolina. It's got to be outdoor activities. You're a sports fan, you like hiking, you like trails, you love nature. Concord has it all. North Carolina in general, my friends, if you haven't been here, is a very beautiful state. Mountains and beaches and lakes, you name it. But Concord has 146 miles of trails. Whether you're walking, biking, running, hanging out with the kids, you're walking the dogs, you name it. There's always things to do outside in Concord. Listen, you've got great parks like Frank Liske Park. You can definitely go out and walk and jog and all those good things, but you've also got a fishing pier and a picnic area. You've got the Vietnam Veterans Park. You've got Rob Wallace Park. You've got the Karen Greenway. Listen, if you like to be outdoors, you're gonna love it because the weather is absolutely great. That actually brings me to my 5th pro for living in Concord, or the greater Charlotte Metro, North Carolina in general. We have all 4 seasons. I was talking to somebody the other day, and she said, the first time I heard about a halfback was just the other day. Have you ever heard that term before? And I said, yes, I have heard about a halfback. A halfback, if you've never heard about this, a halfback is somebody that moves from the north, okay? And I guess you can move from the West Coast as well. But you end up moving halfway back because you moved all the way down to Florida for that fun of the sun. You had higher taxes, you sweat to death, you don't really have seasons. You got great beaches and things like that, but you don't really get what you get here in what I call God's country right here in Charlotte. Concord, it's a sweet spot, okay? It is a sweet spot for sure. We get all 4 seasons here. So you probably noticed I took off my jacket. Well, I got all 4 seasons today, okay? I got rain today, I got wind today. Woke up this morning, it was chilly outside, a cool 63 degrees, and right now it's about 80. So I had to peel that jacket off because I got hot. But you typically are gonna get all 4 seasons. Our weather's a little bit weird. I'll tell you this, when I was a kid growing up in the Charlotte Metro, it actually used to snow. And it snowed every year you could count on it. Doesn't snow here anymore. I think the last snow that I remember us having in the Charlotte Metro was probably back, I would say 2 or 3, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. It's been a long time since we got snow. The weather has definitely changed around the Charlotte area, but Concord has great weather, my friends. So it's gonna get cool in the Charlotte Metro and Concord right around, I would say October-ish, but it's still not gonna be cold. You're probably not gonna get really cold enough to get that big jacket out to sometime in December. but it's going to turn right back around and warm up again in February. So you're going to hit fall, October-ish. You're going to hit that fall season, a little chilly at night in the 50s and things like that. By the time you get to December, you're going to get some 30s. Some nights you may get into the teens, but by February, it's going to be in the 70s again. So you're going to have a 70s day, then you're going to have a 30s day, then you're going to have a 50s day, then you're going to have an 80s day, right? And this is going to go on like this well into June. So the weather's a little bit crazy, but you do get all the seasons. And when you talk about proximity to like mountains and beaches and things like that, you're going to want to have those different weather patterns and weather seasons coming through. Because I can go to Asheville, North Carolina from here in about 2.5 hours. And I tell you what, to get up there in the fall, to see the trees change colors is absolutely amazing. Okay, well, it warms up here, you know, as like I said, February, March, April, you go down to the beaches the opposite direction, and it's gorgeous there. So you want to live in a suburb outside of Charlotte where you kind of got a small town feel, not as many people, great schools and things like that, lots of stuff to do, but easy access back to everything you could think of. Concord's great for that, my friends. So if I had to pick number 5, the weather in our area is absolutely amazing, and I love it. And I'm gonna tell you what, you are gonna love it too, my friends. So let's talk about pro number 6 for living in the Charlotte area. And I keep saying Charlotte, but we're talking about Concord, but listen, to me, Charlotte is everything, okay? But I love Concord because you also have NASCAR.
600's underway.
Okay. Now, traditionally, listen, let's be honest, okay? I don't sugarcoat anything. Let's be honest. Traditionally, people like myself that look like me don't do NASCAR, okay? But I tell you what, me personally, I've got a great deal of respect for NASCAR. Listen, I've got a need for speed. In our brokerage, they've got me listed as the worst driver. So if you move in here, you may not want to ride with me to go around on tours. I've got an Audi Q8. I like a little bit of speed, okay? It's electric, the thing. It's got a little get up, okay? I've got a need for speed. So I like NASCAR for that. Well, anyway, back in 2007, I was gifted with the opportunity to go do the Richard Petty experience at the NASCAR Coliseum here in Charlotte, Charlotte Motor Speedway. And let me tell you something. It was probably one of the best days, sports-wise, in my life. Because right after that, I also had tickets to go see my favorite football team, the Pittsburgh Steelers, play too, man. So go Steelers, all right? But the NASCAR, the Charlotte Motor Speedway is amazing. I've got a healthy respect for NASCAR drivers because I could not even keep up with the pace car, all right? We went through this training, got to drive a couple of laps around, and got in that pace car, that race car, that number 43, Richard Petty. And I tell you what, the curves were coming up so fast. I don't even know how those guys do it. I couldn't imagine driving a NASCAR that fast with that many cars on the track. It was just mind-boggling, but it was so much fun. So if you like being outdoors, if you like NASCAR, if you like those kind of things, I can tell you right now, you're gonna absolutely, positively love living in Concord, North Carolina. NASCAR is amazing, okay? And listen, we also have a drag racing strip right across the street too, guys. So listen, if you're here in the area, you're gonna absolutely love it. NASCAR, NASCAR, NASCAR. That is my number 6 reason for moving to Concord, North Carolina. Now let's talk about number 7, my number 7 pro for living in Concord, North Carolina. And it's gotta be employment opportunities. Concord is growing so fast, my friends, okay? As a matter of fact, here recently, Eli Lilly has opened up a $1 billion manufacturing facility. They're hiring like crazy right now, okay? I actually just looked online while I was doing this video just to see what kind of employment opportunities that existed for folks that want to work at Eli Lilly. And it looks like right now they've got about 40 job postings. Listen, they're a pharmaceutical manufacturing company. From what I could tell from everything online, looks like they're going to be manufacturing their diabetes medicine here. But listen, Eli Lilly, you've got Philip Morris, okay? Listen, go work at a NASCAR team. One of my clients actually works for a NASCAR driver. So if you want to do something like that, go work at a NASCAR team. If you're in the healthcare field, you can go do that as well. If you like retail, you got Concord Mills. You actually got 2 malls out in the Concord area. You just got a diverse job market and opportunities there in Concord. And listen, if you don't want to work in Concord, you want to come to Charlotte and work, guess what? You can do that as well. And that brings me to my number 8 pro for living in Concord. You can get back into Charlotte pretty easily. At the beginning of the video, I mentioned to you guys that I can actually get from my home into Concord in 8 to 10 minutes, depending on the traffic. I mean, it's really a straight shot once I leave my neighborhood. But getting back into Charlotte for the job opportunities, the sporting events, listen, you got the Carolina Panthers, Charlotte FCS, you got the Charlotte Hornets, you got the Knights that play baseball. Charlotte's great, okay? Cost of living's too high from when I was growing up, right? So people are moving out to suburbs like Concord. That's why we're doing this video, because Concord is a great suburb if you want to escape the hustle and bustle of Charlotte. But that is a pro for moving to a place like Concord, because again, you can live right on the border, get all the new construction, all the restaurants, the shopping, the malls, you name it. And I tell you what, you'll be back in Charlotte in a jiffy. And in uptown Charlotte from Concord Mills, exit 45 on I-85 to uptown Charlotte, depending on traffic, listen, you're there in 25 minutes if you drive like me, okay? Don't drive like me. Don't drive like me, all right? When I was in the Marine Corps, guys, listen, I had my license taken 4 times. I thank God I'm still alive, okay? And you're crazy enough, I haven't had a bunch of accidents either. Hey, listen, I know how to drive, but I do like speed. So I digress. Listen, that is my number 8 reason, guys, for living in Concord is that proximity. You can get back into Charlotte in a jiffy, all right? Now, let's talk about number 9, our number 9 pro for living in Concord. Because Concord is much smaller than Charlotte, okay? And then you've got Kannapolis right past Concord as you head on up further north. But safety and livability, okay? Safety and livability. Concord actually receives an A for safety, my friends, okay? I'm wrong about that. Concord actually got a C+ for safety, all right? But listen, you've got to look at how they're comparing the numbers, though. And this is according to niche.com, NICHE.com. They gave Concord a C. But you know where the black eye actually came from? Vehicle thefts, okay? Vehicle thefts are per the national average, okay? It's about half of the national average. But all the other stats, though, robberies, home break-ins, all these things, vandalism, it was very low. But it was so high on the vehicle theft side that it ended up with a C because of that average. But think about it. Vehicle thefts, NASCAR, Need for Speed. Listen, they kind of go hand in hand. People are stealing cars in NASCAR. And I can imagine, well, not in NASCAR, in Concord, and I can imagine they are driving these cars pretty stinking fast. And getting parts. Listen, if you hang out around here, it's inevitable you're going to hear somebody with a souped up car with a muffler that will burst out your eardrums, okay? This is the kind of stuff that you're going to find out in Concord. So listen, outside of that though, it is a great place to live out in Concord. It's not a lot to do. We're going to talk about that as well too, all right? Lastly but leastly on our pros list, guys, number 10 right here, okay? It's going to be healthcare cost, all right? Healthcare costs in Concord are approximately 5.7% lower than the national average. Now, this does include costs for like medical consultations, dental care, prescription meds, and specialized medical services. So when it comes to your bottom line and affordability, right, you got to consider healthcare costs as well. Lower healthcare costs do contribute to the overall affordability of living in Concord. And that was my number 1, was affordability for living here. So overall, guys, you can see there are a lot of pros for moving to Concord, North Carolina. You're going to absolutely love that small town feel, but love also the fact that you can get back into the city of Charlotte, or drive to Atlanta, or drive up to Asheville, or go down to Myrtle Beach, or go down to Charleston, right? You can get to these places pretty quickly. Concord also has its own regional airport where people are getting really cheap flights flying from there down to Florida, for example, okay? We do it all the time. So Charlotte does have an international airport here, but if you live in Concord and you want to fly regional, you do have a small airport there as well. And if you're a pilot yourself, right? You get pilot lessons out in Concord, right? You could take your plane out there. Listen, Concord, guys, is a great place to be. All right. So now we're going to talk about some cons of living out in a place like Concord, North Carolina. All right. You guys ready? Let me take a break. I'll be right back. All right, guys. So we're going to talk about the cons for living in Concord, North Carolina. And I'll be honest, listen, I don't have a lot of cons for living out there. Concord is an amazing city to me. But let's talk about number one. Number one is going to be public transportation. Listen, public transportation is going to be limited compared to a city like Charlotte, for example, where we've got a rail system here. You've got buses and things like that, right? Concord's going to have buses, but you just don't have a lot of those services out in Concord like you do in a much larger city. What that means is that you're going to end up having to have transportation, a car or something, Ubering, which could cost you more money, of course, but you're going to need to find some transportation to get around Concord. You may have heard me mention early on that Concord and some parts of it are very rural. So you're going to have to get the bus one way or another if you live out in Concord and you don't have a car. So transportation could become a hurdle for you if you live in a city like that. So you want to definitely think about that and consider, how are you going to be getting around? I know I had one lady actually moving from New York down to Concord, and when she mentioned to me she didn't have a car, like that became a challenge for her because she looked at where she wanted to move in Concord, looked at, the bus system out in that area, and yeah, it just wasn't going to work for her. So if you're considering moving to an area like that, you definitely want to make sure that you're moving here with transportation and you have some kind of way that you're going to be able to get around throughout Concord if you don't have a car. All right. So that's going to be con number one for living in Concord. That brings us to number two, the traffic. Okay. So now you're not going to get a ton of traffic in Concord, but because you have limited public transportation, guess what? Everybody's got a car. So, and you only have one major highway really that runs through Concord, and that's going to be 85. Outside of that, you've got a bunch of windy rural roads, okay? Especially the further north you go. It's going to get hilly. It's going to get bumpy, okay? It's going to be some terrain. You got 2-lane roads. You got cows and deer and all kind of stuff you may be dealing with out in the country parts of the rural areas of Concord. So traffic out there, man, can get pretty dicey depending on what time of day because of the lack of major roads out in the Concord area. Now, listen, they are building Concord up significantly right now. So I don't think this is going to be a long-term issue. As a matter of fact, I remember them widening the highways, widening I-85 some years back anyway, to make it the super highway that it is right now. But at one point, it was like a 4-lane highway, and traffic was absolutely atrocious coming through there. Because you've got that Concord Mills Mall, of course, they had to expand the highway to accommodate for all that traffic and all the restaurants they've got at that exit. That's exit 45. So again, traffic could be an issue for you if you're in Concord, depending on what time of day you're traveling in the mornings or getting off work in the evenings, all right? So that's going to be my con number two. Con number three is going to be it's underdeveloped, okay? Again, the further you go north in some parts of Concord, it's going to look like it's never been touched. You've got old homes, you've got homes that have not been taken care of, okay? You've got really rural, windy roads that are very well taken care of, okay? So I want to make sure I'm clear about that. The roads are not bumpy, okay? The roads are very well taken care of, but they're 2-lane roads everywhere, and they are windy. Surprisingly, Concord is very hilly, okay? Now, that may not be a surprise to some people, but for me, even living here, because Charlotte's so flat, going out to some parts of Concord when I got into real estate, it was shocking to me, to be honest. And I live here, okay? Some of those roads are very windy and very long and no gas stations. Yeah, that can be a problem for you if you're living out in certain parts of Concord. And guess what? It gets dark, okay, out in those areas too, because there's no street lights in some areas. You got small fire departments in those areas. Like, I forgot what they call those fire departments, but you got some small fire departments in areas like that too. So listen, the closer you live to Charlotte and Concord, the better it is. The further you get out into Concord, some of the old areas, downtown Concord, out past that, that's when it starts to get a little bit dicey as it relates to the development and what they're doing in Concord. Downtown Concord right now is going through some renovation, which is awesome, building some new buildings and hotels and things like that. So that's pretty cool. But again, just the further out you go, so just keep that in mind. Listen, for some of you, for me, for example, I like that. I love the idea of living out in the country like that, having a nice plot of land, got the cows going, okay, and the deer out running around and all that good stuff. I'm okay with that. But for some of you moving to this area from other states, you may not want that. So you definitely got to be mindful that that is definitely a thing out in Concord, is that some areas are going to be undeveloped, okay? Developed, but not what you expect when you live in a big city, all right? So that's going to be number 3. I would say my con number 4 is actually a part of one of my pros. That's NASCAR, okay? When NASCAR comes to town, they've got a big event, guys, a Coca-Cola 500, all these things. I mean, the traffic around the Speedway is atrocious. You can't get hotels, can't get in the restaurants. It's noisy. You've got people with the campers everywhere. It is a wild, drunk, rowdy fest, okay? If you've never been around a NASCAR venue when you've got one of those sporting events going on, it can get very, very crazy. But outside of that, though, Concord is pretty daggone quiet. So again, this is a few times a year where in Concord, our con number 4 is going to take over, and that's going to be during NASCAR events when you've got everybody from every stinking where converging on the city of Concord, the small suburb of Charlotte, to go and watch their favorite driver race. It can be a nightmare, the traffic getting around that area. So that's my con number 4. I would say my con number 5 is going to be limited nightlife, okay? You've got just a few nightlife options out in Concord compared to Charlotte, for example, okay? You've got bars and lounges, okay? You've got live music venues, okay? You've got brewing companies out there. You got sports bars, things like that. But for somebody that's young and, hip and want to be able to, getting into all the fun activities that young folks like to do, right? Concord's probably not going to be for you. If you're a foodie, okay? Listen, people told me to call it a foodie. I'm greedy. I like food, okay? If you're a foodie, though, right? Concord may not be the place for you, although they do have one of my favorite restaurants, okay? The Smoke Pit, okay? Concord, North Carolina in general is known for barbecue. At the Smoke Pit, listen, I actually went by there yesterday. We couldn't even get in. The line was outside, okay? So this is on Concord Parkway, but limited nightlife in Concord, all right? You will definitely find yourself in Charlotte if you're looking for entertainment, partying, clubs, venues, you name it, that is where you're gonna be, all right? So that's my con number 5 for living in Concord, North Carolina. Now, my con number 6 was actually a pro, okay, as well. It's the weather variability, okay? Listen, I told you this morning when I woke up, it was cold as heck outside and cloudy, windy, right? I didn't know what the day was gonna be, so I got up and I had on my jacket. I was ready to rock and roll. By the time noon hit, I was peeling this stuff off, man. I was sweating, it was hot. So you've gotta really prepare, especially like this time of year when we're transitioning from spring to summer, okay? Or you're transitioning from summer to fall. In some cases, you've got to take, closed-toe shoes and sandals. You've got to take a sweatshirt and t-shirts. You've got to take a sweatsuit and something else, okay? You're going to need to make sure that you're prepared for the weather in this city because the weather in this region can be very, very unpredictable, okay? So the weather variability is going to be my con number 6 for living in Concord, North Carolina, all right? Number 7 on that list, okay? Now, I don't know if this is a con, okay? Taxes right now in the Concord area are generally low compared to the national average, even Charlotte. However, with the growth and development the city is seeing, just like in Charlotte 2 years ago, our taxes went up. Man, my taxes doubled almost here in Charlotte. So I can imagine as they're building out Concord, at some point the city leaders out there are going to raise taxes in Concord, making it less affordable. But for right now, though, taxes are great. But this number 7 con will definitely play a factor in the future. So there's something you want to consider if you're thinking about moving out to Concord, buying a new construction home, for example. Your taxes are definitely going to go up. So the unknown right now is a con for me because I like to know what I'm getting into when I buy a home. And if I move out into Concord, I really don't know where those taxes are going to land. Now, if you're coming from the north, where you guys are paying just insane, tax dollars, okay? You're not going to pay that down here. You're not going to have a $15,000 tax bill. You're not going to have a $5,000 tax bill, not on average anyway, unless you've got a really big home with a lot of land. That's just very uncommon in our area. But the unknown, though, for the taxes, we just really don't know what that's going to look like in a few years. So that unknown, okay, is a con for me. And that sun has come in, guys, and now it's beat me up over here, man. So hopefully it doesn't wash out the video, all right? But we're going to talk about our con number 8, all right? And that's going to be retail choices, all right? Listen, I like to shop. You know what I like to go buy? Black t-shirts and sneakers, all right? I absolutely love it. Retail choices, though, are limited. However, Concord does have the largest mall in North Carolina, which is called Concord Mills. I believe we've got about 200 stores at Concord Mills. You do have another smaller mall out in Concord as well, exit 55 or 56 or so out in Concord, but not a lot of stores in that mall. So if you're going to go shopping out in Concord, it's going to be specialty shops, for example. Okay, you're going to definitely end up in Concord Mills because you're going to have a much wider variety. So that means if you live on the further reaches out north in Concord, you may have to drive 20 to 30 minutes to get to the mall. So that's going to be a con for me as it relates to living out in Concord. It's just going to be the retail choices that I have and the restaurant opportunities out in Concord too. You got lots of fast food, not a lot of shopping, not a lot of big restaurants. So that is a con in my book. That is con number 8. So let's talk about number 9, guys. This is my last con as well for Concord, guys. And it is the rapid growth of Concord. Everybody wants to move there. People are fleeing Charlotte because of the high taxes, high cost of living, property. Listen, the property values have doubled, okay? They have doubled since I bought my home. The home I'm in right now, back in 2021, okay? I bought this home for $375. My neighbors are now selling in the mid 500s. This is just 3 years ago, okay? So people are moving to places like Concord, but because of the rapid growth, guess what? Home prices went up, okay? Property taxes are gonna go up. Grocery store costs are gonna go up, okay? You got more congestion out in that area, right? Food resources are getting more scarce out in Concord, okay? Grocery stores are having to keep up. So it can get really crowded really quickly out in Concord. So you want to definitely make sure you consider that. Even though you're moving to a small town, a suburb of Charlotte, it is growing rapidly because people want good schools. Some people want country living, right? All the reasons that we talked about that people may want to live in Concord are causing it to be a number 9 con on our list. The rapid stinking growth in Concord, North Carolina, guys. But Concord does offer a blend of Southern charm, access to urban amenities, making this a very attractive place for many people, okay? The drawbacks that we talked about should not deter you from moving to a place like Concord because your lifestyle overall and your quality of living is gonna be much better by moving to Concord, North Carolina. So listen, if you like the video, guys, please hit that like button, go ahead and share it with somebody. Please subscribe to the channel. And please, my information is going to be in the description box below. Please feel free to give me a call. I would love to serve you moving or making your transition out of Charlotte into Concord or from another state into the Concord area. My name is Sean Gerald with Lifestyle International Realty. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please drop a comment below and I'll talk to you soon. Y'all have a great day. Let's go get it.